Hello, everyone. We are live. Hotel Marketing Live Show again today on a Monday, exceptionally. And a little bit later for me, 10 p.m. here, but we have guests from Australia, 6 a.m. where Damien is, 4 p.m. where Kirsten is. It's amazing to have you both here today. It's all about leadership coaching. What is coaching? Why do we need coaching? How does coaching work? Kirsten, go ahead, please do tell the people who you are.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Rossvogel, and I'm founder, and I've been helping to build high-performing teams for going on 30 years. So I focus on leadership, communication, selection strategies, and help you avoid the friction that can happen while scaling or working with family.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. Damien, over to you.
Good morning, team. Damien Tenboma, coming from the sunny Gold Coast in Australia, Queensland. I've been a coach focusing on leadership development and succession planning for just over 3.5 years now professionally. Work with Moret through IHG in the hotel. And you can take the boy out of hotels, but you can't take the hotel out of the boys, and that's what attracts me to everything Moret's doing with the hotel marketing space. I'm again working across all industries. Found my passion working with people, and a true believer that the strength to develop and succeed is within ourselves, and it coaches everybody just to tease that out. So thank you for having us this morning, Moret.
Thank you, Damon and Kirsten. So today you might be wondering, everyone's like, oh, leadership coaching has nothing to do with marketing. As a matter of fact, it's got everything to do with marketing and hotel marketing. And first of all, I wanted to thank Damien because Damien has mentored me throughout my career at ING. So I know how good he is in coaching and mentoring. But mentoring and coaching are two very different things, right? And as a matter of fact, I will start with Kirsten. They are completely different things, aren't they?
They really are. When we think of mentoring, I think that's more, especially internally. So, I mean, obviously we can mentor teens and those kinds of things, but mentoring is really more about giving people prescribed experiences, opportunities to gain knowledge specific to an organization and how it's working. Also, having that good role model and ways to network and really kind of find your way through the inner workings of an organization is how I think of mentoring. Coaching, on the other hand, is very, I start to say self-centered, but like self-focused, let's call it, for probably a better word, where you really gain awareness about who you are in your communication and your leadership style. And it's ultimately about identifying those gaps. And I use my hands a lot, but your experiences or your expectations, how how you want things to be and how they actually are, and identifying why those gaps exist, and then creating strategies to minimize the gaps.
Okay, Damon, do you agree or how do you see it?
Oh, look, supported 110%, absolutely. As Moret said, I was fortunate to mentor formally and informally many people through my career in the hotels. And it's amazing the power that our own experience has and how that can translate to a mentee. I thoroughly enjoyed sharing those experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because they're all learning opportunities as I see it. And certainly with coaching, yeah, I'd agree. Coaching is certainly a client-driven agenda. The coach is there to support. I think of ourselves as like the guardrails on a highway, just to keep things on track. But then again, throw a few stop signs and swerves and speed bumps in there to have the client or the coachee really challenge themselves internally. Because I'm a great believer in not necessarily staying within your lane of comfort, but taking that off ramp of, oh, that's different, that's interesting, because I believe we do our best growth at the edges of our comfort zone ultimately. I'm a great reader of the Stoics, and Seneca the Younger has one phrase that I throw out a lot, and my 19-and-a-half-year-old daughter will attest to this, is that never a good sailor does a calm sea make. So if you think of it in that context, a few tests and trials and tribulations and thought-provoking questions from the coach can really develop a great individual.
Damien, I have to just jump in because I'm laughing as you say like the storms, et cetera. And as coaches, we are ultimately, yes, absolutely pushing people out of their comfort zones. And I think about all the times over the years that I have try not to celebrate too exuberantly when actually something has gone awry, because there's our opportunity. That becomes a great illustration of the opportunity for growth. So yes, as you were talking about the storms, it's the beauty of being a coach. We get to celebrate those moments and then help people maneuver through them to the other side, with growth and greater potential.
Oh, it is. And you're right. When you have those aha moments, you'll ask a question, you get that pause of like awkward silence. But I believe silence is a fantastic tool for processing. And then you can see that change in the coach's eyes. You go, okay, what were you feeling there? What was going through your mind? What changed? And it's just, yeah, it's refreshing. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, actually. So, yeah.
Same.
So here we're talking about coaching, right? So we agree it's not about mentoring, we're focused on coaching. What exactly does a coach do? So let's say I come to you and I want coaching, right? Damien, let's start with you. What do you do?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's great. I mean, the wonderful thing about being a coach is that it is a client-driven agenda. I really like to dig deep and find out what the person is looking to get out of coaching. So when I have my first calls with any of my clients, say, what is your expectation? And usually it's like, oh, you'll tell me. Yeah, no, I won't tell you. So what are you looking for? And that the thought process starts with the very first interaction, I believe. After, oh, how's the weather? How's the family? Have you having breakfast? And then you're straight into it. There's a lot of coaches that use what they call a chemistry session and things like that. But I'm a great believer in giving the person the experience. Maybe it's coming from a hotel background. Have jumped straight into coaching, but at a very light level. And again, it's not really right for everybody as well. I don't believe anybody is not coachable, but what we talk through and discuss will only land when the person has an open mind and is willing to look at change. And that usually starts with quite a lot of self-awareness. Sometimes it can start, pointing fingers outwards, but at the end of the day, you progress through. So yeah, I just like to find out what the driver is and what the expectation is and take it from there.
Kirsten, do you do the same? So if I were to come to you and say, I want coaching?
Yes, you have to drive down and determine. Now, a lot of times maybe the president of the company or whoever engaged me for the coaching has some ideas as well, but ultimately the coachee is the one who's going to drive agenda, et cetera. And I think a great place to start with coaching is to look at recent experiences. I talked about that gap. Where did you wish something would have gone better or different? And what is that thing? Describe it. And from there, I'm helping to identify, why did that happen? Is it a mindset, a communication? Are there relationship gaps? Is it, you're unclear with your setting expectations or holding people accountable, something, the culture of the team, et cetera. But so I'm helping to identify why the snafu happened, whatever it is, what was uncomfortable, what didn't go as well as you would have liked. And then we create strategies for them to try over the next week. Let's see how it goes. And Damien was talking about they need to be ready, and absolutely they need to be ready. And so sometimes I ask them, if it's quite a new idea for them or concept, just try it on for size, or do a couple little test runs over the next week and see what happens. Play it like a game. I tend to, while I'm quite tough with coaching, and holding people accountable, it's also playful and fun. So anyway, that's kind of how we start, though. It's by strategizing about things coming up or events that didn't go as well as you would have liked.
Because we did get a comment right now. What if a client doesn't know what they want exactly? So maybe someone comes and they tell you they want coaching, but they don't really want coaching. Maybe they want something completely different. Would you then tell them? Because maybe they don't want to get coached.
Please.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually had a new client start this last week that was exactly that circumstance. And that happens sometimes. The president of the very much feels like this person needs coaching. So I joked and I said, I'll be eating my Wheaties, because I had a description of the person and I knew that they had some kind of personality types and mindset around coaching that was going to make them a little more difficult. But that's okay. I'm up for the challenge. But so, the first session was one about building trust. And two, I ended up sharing some stories and illustrations about how I've helped other people through similar circumstances, and also helping them realize I'm on their side. This isn't an adversarial relationship, and the investment that your company's making in your coaching is an investment in you and your success. And the opportunity is there is if you'll jump on board and engage in the coaching. And it was also about helping them see for themselves, kind of move through the denial. There are stay stuck strategies that people will use, and one of them is denial. But so if there's a bit of denial, just helping them push through and think about, from your perspective, did it go as well as you would have liked, or is there an opportunity to change? The other quick thing is, sometimes they only want to focus on the other person. Like, let's say it's communication that has gone awry. I really need to get them focused on the fact that they're the only ones on the coaching call right now. And so they play a part, the other person plays a part. And so let's just work on your part. And this isn't about blame or anything like that. It's that you are empowered to impact the circumstance. And let's see in which ways we can strategize to help you do that.
Damien?
Oh, look, exactly right. Some people don't really understand what coaching is, and I like to just ask a couple of pointed questions. So, what would a great day look like, or where is your biggest challenge, or when was the last time you felt like this, or how long have you felt like this? And usually through a couple of clarifying questions, you unearth something to talk about, and that invariably works through to a coaching conversation. And then once you sort of unearth the gems a little bit, then you can agree on what would be a great conversation, and then you can look at contracting with the client and what they want to get out of it. It's interesting though, a great question in round two, that people come with sometimes the complete other idea, exactly like Kristen said, that oh no, how do I get them to do what I want them to do? Okay, great question. Okay, help me understand how you ask them to do something, and it's just those questions. And the thing is, you're right, it's non-combative, it's a safe space, it's a place to practice and experiment. I mean, I had one client that trialed a panel presentation with me for twice, just because the nerves were completely clouding her ability to focus on anything. So I became that crash test process to take things through, and that's okay, because he has a client-driven agenda. And through that process, we unearthed some opportunities to work through managing up as a key focus. So yeah, it is a client-driven agenda and a few pointed questions, and people sort of go, oh, that sounds interesting, let's explore that.
Is coaching always one-on-one? So how does it work? Is it one-on-one sessions? Can it also be group coaching? Damien?
Yeah, look, great question, Marette. ICF, the International Coaching Federation, a couple of years ago actually brought out the core competencies for team coaching or group coaching, as it is, and that's up to, I think, a maximum of 8 people. I have to check my notes. So yeah, team coaching or group coaching is certainly relevant where appropriate, and I use that. I'll throw up my fingers where appropriate, because when you talk about a safe space one-on-one, it's very easy to mirror, engage, and get the feedback. When you're talking a group of people and there's an element of something in the water, in the air, that's when it can actually, it's almost like walking through a field of landmines. So the coach's responsibility then is to both guide the conversation, yet give everybody an equal voice, and also manage some of those emotions, and also just be that refereeing at timeout, well, as it would be. I have done some group coaching or team coaching in the past. I love it, but I prefer probably facilitation more than that right now. I get my energy from the individual, like Kristen said, that you see their eyes light up or see that question land. Yeah, but it's a valid source. A lot of companies go through transition, M&As and the likes would go through a process like that, or teams or projects, definitely. But yeah, it's an interesting space.
Kirsten, one-on-one or group coaching?
They both can be powerful, and I love this. Where appropriate, I was like, yes. Either you need a team that has the ability to have some vulnerability, and as coaches, and I'm sure Damien does the same, we have to ask permission to coach. And there are times when we are seeing things and pointing out to help people gain self-awareness. And in a group setting, that can be more challenging. Again, especially if they have not, if trust is one of the issues in the team. And so, so definitely I've done more so leadership teams, and we create specific objectives for those. And a lot of times I do a blend of a bit of teaching / coaching around specific topics. Another way you can engage in group coaching is if people have, they can be from different parts of the organization, but still same objectives that they're working towards.
So I think we all agree that, I mean, coaching has to be very results driven, right? So you just have objectives, you have goals. When it comes to leadership coaching, what could be a goal or team building? Kirsten?
Creating a culture of accountability, becoming better at setting very clear expectations, holding your team accountable.
How do you measure that? How do you say, okay, we've succeeded, the coaching was successful?
Yeah. Okay. So for this, it is not, well, the way I coach, people may have found ways to measure. I mean, and I'm sure you can do like employee engagement surveys at a broad level, et cetera. But ultimately, sometimes it's soft skills kinds of things. I mean, but you can look at employee turnover and those kinds of things. Are you having less customer service challenges? But you can't, I don't know, Damien, I don't want to say you can't. It's harder to measure. It's like, it's not a profit and loss thing. We are talking about people, but so really it is, but I will say everyone feels it. You definitely feel it. And so if you could measure that again through some kind of survey, which there are surveys, you feel it because your rock stars are happier because they're not picking up the slack for all the people that are doing less. The clear expectations, they're not the discomfort of uncertainty about what do you expect from me? How am I doing? All of those kinds of things. There's less chaos because there are less challenges, and hopefully they've engaged in process improvement and all those kinds of things. I mean, just things get better. All right, Damien, I'm going to let you take it because I don't think I'm answering well.
No, you are actually. That's the beauty of coaching, because it's the results can be so intangible. How do you measure love? How do you measure a sense of safety? How do you measure a great conversation? How do you measure, going in for that crucial conversation and coming out, not adversaries, coming out as colleagues? There's a lot of intangibles, and you're right, exactly as Kristen said, that you can see it, or other people see it. And one of the best things that I've heard from some of my coachees is, Bob from finance came over and asked me what I was doing differently, and I've gone, I'm not doing anything differently. I said, well, somebody can see the swagger, your shoulders hold up a little bit higher, that sparkle in your eye. But from a corporate perspective, it's a really valid question. One of the companies I support has a great tool, and we do it's not an in-depth 360. It's more a reflection exercise manager and coachee, start, middle, and end of a session, and they can quantify, the feeling of safety, the feeling of recognition, attachment to the job, and everything else through those measures. But it's an intangible. It really is. It's an intangible. But if the coachee feels it and somebody else notices it, job done.
Can I jump into? I always encourage. Don't require it because it's up to them, but I encourage the people I coach to be transparent with at least a few core people about what they're working on, because what that does is they can be watching. You can ask them to point out if you've gone awry of what you're working towards, but also it helps them. People see when you're coaching someone, they see you behave, communicate differently. Like Damien was saying, your shoulders are up higher, perhaps. And if you don't tell people that you're engaged in coaching or what you're working on, they're in that gray area of what is going on. And then it takes longer for them to start relating to you, to this new person that you're becoming. And so on the flip side, if you communicate, hey, I'm coaching and this is one of the things I'm working on, they can already be relating to you for what you're working on. And again, can help hold you accountable because no one 100%, usually implements the change.
We got a question, maybe Damien, would you like to address it? If, especially since you moved from corporate to coaching around COVID time, do you think the pandemic has affected anything in coaching? Do people want more coaching, less coaching? I personally think there are more people interested in coaching now after this pandemic than earlier.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Great question, Imran. Does after post-COVID, the coaching style changed? What I love about COVID, and this sounds terrible, I know, I shouldn't love the pandemic, but it's brought an element of authenticity to our interactions. We've all seen the videos of the CEO conduct the interview, three-piece tie, hop up, and he's got his board shorts underneath. I'm sitting here with a pair of slippers and a pair of jeans on, because it's cold. I think COVID has brought about an element of authenticity and vulnerability. And to your point, Marette, people have now gone, oh, this is a strange feeling. How can I capitalize on this? Bang, and away you go, coaching. But it also brings us some challenges. Some of my clients, Shanghai most recently, and they've had multiple lockdowns there. The Chinese government is going for a zero COVID policy. Fair enough. But there's a huge impediment to people thriving in an environment like that. So yeah, coaching has become more aware. People are spending more time online. They're looking for that voice, somebody who's outside of their work sphere, their home sphere, their family, just to take them out, just transport them for that time. And that's where coaching can help.
Kirsten, I have a different question to you.
Oh, I was ready for that one. All right.
No, it's very much related. Can you say that there are times where coaching fails, like really badly?
So I would not use the word fails, but I will say there have been times when I was not able to get an unwilling participant to do the self-awareness work. And again, you can very quickly tell. So for instance, and this is because like a business owner or CFO or CEO has said, there are some challenges with your performance. And so you're going to coach, and they see it as a punishment. And their whole goal is to basically use one of the stay stuck strategy, denial, deflection, dramatics. There's a bunch of them. There's 5. But anyway, they use these stay stuck strategies. So where do they place their energy? So a good coachee is placing their energy on the self-awareness. They want to hear what you're investing in them. They want to try new strategies. They're all about it. A stay stuck strategy person is using their emphasis is on those stay stuck strategies. I don't want to hear alternative information. And you also very often see them trying to figure out who said what, or try to deny who might have said what. And so, I don't call it a failure, but I am upfront that if someone has that kind of thing going on, I am going to eat my Wheaties and do my best. But they ultimately have to choose to make the changes. And so there have been, again, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I think there's been 2 or 3 times when I fired a client because they just weren't making progress. So I think I answered your question, but that's the only time I will call it a failure. It is by the client's choice.
The way I meant failure is because we also want to give the impression that coaching is for everyone and coaching can solve all problems and coaching is the solution to everything, right? I mean, might be times where, as you said, someone is not ready for coaching. Now, when it comes to the hotel marketing space, obviously we talk to people who are maybe junior marketers or senior marketers. Damien, what type of coaching do you offer them?
Yeah, great question, Marette. I feel that everybody has an opportunity to gain something out of coaching, no matter what level of the industry they're in. They could be fresh grad. Actually, I do some pro bono coaching with University of Queensland through ICF here. And, they're deers in the headlights, what's all this about? And it's a matter of just adapting your words and strategies and expectations of them of what they're looking to achieve. It might be, if it's a junior marketing exec, how do I disagree with my director of sales and marketing, or the general manager? Will he like this? And then you can reflect, okay, why would they not like it? Yeah. So I think everybody can be open to coaching. It's just the questioning style that changes and adapts.
Kirsten?
I agree. It also, even to new grads, et cetera, gaining self-awareness always, gaining clarity. When we have uncertainty, it's more difficult to move with tenacity because that uncertainty is kind of, rather than creating a fire hose towards our movement forward and the decisions that we're making, we have more of a trickling brook sometimes because we aren't certain, and maybe we're putting our energies in multiple places. And so, I also, to the youngest to the oldest, being tenacious and making informed decisions about our own lives versus doing the lazy river way of doing life, where we just kind of sit on the tube and life bumps us along. So, I mean, there is something to be gained for everyone. Self-awareness. I do so much communication. So many people overcoming people-pleasing leadership, and that overcoming people pleasing, that impacts your life and your work tremendously. So, I mean, there's so much work that we can do on ourselves. Like the growth never stops. So,
Kirsten, in practice, so how many coaching sessions are we talking about? Like, are they like weekly? Is it daily, monthly? For how long? Is it an hour long, 2 hours long? How exactly does this work?
yeah. So for me, I almost always start weekly 1 hour sessions. In general, at about 2 to 3 months, usually the people I'm coaching are ready to move to every other week. By then, we've identified habits that aren't serving them, how they're wired that needs a little give grace, but find some workarounds, et cetera. And now they begin to just continue to move forward and cement those habits. And so usually and you can tell it's so client centered, right? Because there's no, this is exactly how it is. But around 2 to 3 months is when we start having those conversations. And then every other week for the next, 3 or 4 months after that. I've had people stay with me once a month for years, sometimes saying they just need a little Kirsten, but that's an outlier. But in general, too, I would say within a year, just about all my clients, we become lifelong, it's a lifelong relationship. After that, we're always checking in, et cetera. But within a year, usually everyone is about ready to kind of move out of formal ongoing meetings.
Damien?
Yeah, exactly right. I think the sweet spot is probably 6 months. After a year, usually we've grown or they've grown, and maybe somebody else can serve them better than we can. And that's the great collegiate way of working with other coaches. I don't see other coaches as rivals. I see them as someone we can learn and share from. So if I'm working with somebody for a year, I will pass them on to somebody else who could maybe serve them better. Yeah, weekly is good for the first 2 or 3 months, and then I sort of go to bi-weekly. But then again, it's client driven. I had one client 3 times in 1 week. One was just a complaint about the business. Okay, great. Do you feel better? Okay, let's have a great constructive conversation. And the other 2 were feeling nervous about this presentation. So yeah, it's very much client driven, but I think weekly initially is a good cadence, and then after 3 months, you're fortnightly or as needed.
This is for the one-on-one, right? For group coaching, it would be different.
Yeah, group coaching is usually more intense initially, and then you have set check-ins, and obviously the group and team would come back with key deliverables and promises they've made to the team and the group as part of the output. It's probably a lot more time bound because they have usually got a project to fix or a culture to repair or something to build. So they're probably, it can be up to 6 months, but usually they're short and sharp, I find.
And everything, I assume everything's remote, so via video call. Is there any homework? No one mentioned any homework, things to. No?
I was going to say, so I always say I call them action steps. So there are definitely defined action steps after each session that come out through our discussion during the session. Very rarely are they homeworky. So it's usually more pay attention to this, or pay it, what you're seeing or what you're feeling or your mindset around it, or try the new thing, or communicate in the meeting 3 times, etc. And action steps are always negotiable because they will be held accountable. There is no try, there's only do. But yes, so there are action steps, but rarely is it homeworky, like read the thing, all of that. Take notes though. Yeah.
Mm.
To conclude, Damien, you know that we, with the hotel marketing space, we're focused on the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia. So it's an area that you know super well. How does coaching fit into Saudi Arabia and their vision for tourism and all the new hotels coming up, the hundreds of hotels?
They are hungry. They are hungry to grow, hungry to learn. Speaking from experience and just seeing what's happening there, it's a recognition of the curiosity and energy that the younger generation can bring to Saudi in a post-oil era, as it would be, and seeing them open up and change. They're in with it, which is great. The questions are the same. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. We put our pants on one leg at a time. Ultimately they're looking for the same thing: growth and safety and an element of certainty and belonging. So yeah, it fits really, really well. And the great thing about Saudi Arabia and being in there too, you've got the food, the people, the hospitality, and it wouldn't be remiss of me to say, you hadn't been to Saudi and if you hadn't been to Al Baik. So there we go. Had to get Al Baik in.
Thank you so much, Kirsten and Damien, and everyone can find out more about your coaching services, hotel marketing, downspace. Thank you so much. Anything you want to say to conclude before we say goodbye to our viewers?
Krista?
Thanks for listening. And if you're feeling some uncertainty about what would be a next step, or I don't know what to do or what I need to work on, etc., let the coach figure that out. Take the next step to get connected with a great coach.
No, exactly. Thanks for the opportunity. Lovely to spend time with you this morning, and everybody stay safe and be well.
Thank you so much, Damien and Kristen. So this will stay on my feed forever, so you can watch it and rewatch it as many times as you want, and it will also go on our new YouTube channel, which I'll tell you all about very soon. Thank you so much, Kristen and Damien, to all those who watched live and to those who watched the recording. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.